either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Hanukkah Shemek. Chong Shemek. Shangurum Shemek. Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast, MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
I probably butchered every single one of those words.
It's okay.
Except Hanukkah, I know that one.
Good job.
In light of the many other holidays happening this time of year, we are doing the only Hanukkah movie we know, 8 Crazy Nights, which I know there are other movies out there. I've just not seen any of them.
This is definitely the one that's like, when people are like, oh, Hanukkah movies, this is the only one I truly know without having to Google. I'm embarrassed by that. I should know more. However, this movie stuck in my head so badly, and then this year had a huge resurgence thanks to that stupid TikTok check.
Bom, betty, 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 bom, bom.
So I'm so glad we're redoing this one, because I do love this movie, but it is not one that, I have burned into my brain, because I watched it when I was much older.
Well, is it because this one actually has, a song associated with it? Because the only way I recognize this one is the Bom Bitty Bitty song, and then also Adam Sandler song for it, and then the only other Hanukkah kind of related thing I remember is South Park, because the dreidel song.
The dreidel song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, the reason this movie stands out because this movie has a distinct animation style with a distinct animated Adam Sandler who isn't drawn to look like anyone else. It's just Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
And it's styled to look like a TV movie show, despite the fact that I don't think it was released originally for TV. I think it was originally released as a movie. And so it's stuck in my head because Adam Sandler is not a cartoon guy. He's always live action, except for this movie, and then much later. But it was just such a weird looking movie that it kind of stuck around in my verbatim.
Yeah, and I think some of the animation feels more modern, or I don't know too much about animated movies from the US around this time. It does make me think a little bit of the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
That style of animation where it wasn't it didn't go full cartoon or anime like we would think, but
sure.
It also didn't go where we go with Bob's Burgers.
No, it's not cartoony. It was meant to look like a lot of other Christmas movies around the same time period. This came out in 2002. And so it was specifically designed to look like other animated Christmas films. Because the whole joke of it is that it's not a Christmas movie, it's a Hanukkah movie.
Although they also bring up Christmas a lot, too.
Oh, the literally intro scene is a giant icicle menorah right next to giant icicle Santa Claus. Touching. They're high-fiving.
Yeah, that's the thing with this movie is the way it's written. By the way, it's written by Brooks author Alan Covert, Brad Isaac, and Adam Sandler, and
of course,
directed by Seth Kearsley. The thing with this one is that the imagery of it, the way it pokes fun is you really could replace Hanukkah with any other holiday, and it would still be a wintry holiday movie.
The other thing I think that is clever, but I don't know how intentional it was, is the cover of this DVD, with one very small exception, looks like a very family-friendly movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not even all of the covers. The cover that's on IMDb looks incredibly family-friendly. The DVD copy you have in the bottom has one line that makes you pause to question it, and it says, very raunchy, in one corner of the DVD case.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing. I would say it is family friendly if your family's okay with Adam Sandler, because you watch Billy Madison,
yes.
Happy Gilmore, Big Daddy, all those raunchy-ish Adam Sandler movies are stuff I watched around this time too.
Yes, that's the thing, is Adam Sandler, since 2002, has moved on to do truly family-friendly movies.
Like your husband's favorite, Blended.
Yes, or 50 First Dates, or all these other movies, right?
50 First Dates is one of the standout ones because it's kind of a serious movie, though.
It is, it's still Adam Sandler, but yes, yeah. And there's a bunch of them, right? He did a whole bunch, but this was pre-Adam Sandler, being seen as more of a family-friendly face.
It was pre-Click, pre-Pixel.
Yes, 100%. This was also his first, and then for a very long time, only animation movie.
What was his other animated one? Because I can't think of it.
10 years later, he is Dracula in Hotel Transylvania.
You know, Hotel Transylvania, he kind of looks like Adam Sandler a little bit.
No, I mean, when you're drawing animation, it is pretty standard and honestly helpful to have your character look a little bit like you, like the voice actor, because then you can match facial expressions and lip movement and stuff like that. This one is literally they just drew Adam Sandler. Like, it's not even a question. In fact, it's one of the main selling points of the film, is that this is an Adam Sandler film.
Yeah. Which, by the way, when I showed this to your husband, he was very surprised that Adam Sandler is Davy, Whitey, Eleanor, and the deer.
I don't know why he's surprised, because, like, obviously he's everyone.
Well, and one thing I do also appreciate with this movie, too, is that, and just Adam Sandler movie, or Happy Madison Productions in general, is that Adam Sandler still uses the same 20 people in every single movie. I mean, hell, Rob Schneider is the narrator in The Chinese Waiter, which, by the way, The Chinese Waiter never gets a name other than that.
Yeah.
Jackie Sandler's Jennifer.
Yeah. I do think this is the only animated film that was produced with this gang of Happy Madison. I think this is their only animated film.
Yeah, I mean,
which I'm not. Look, like, don't get me wrong. This movie's fine. It looks fine, but also, like, I can understand why they'd be like, "Wow, that was a lot of work for not a lot of money."
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its spot where I think the issue with it is that, one, it is kind of making fun of Hanukkah a little bit, or Christmas movies in general.
Definitely making fun of the whole, like, oh, you're gonna see the light and become a better person and, like, turn your whole life around because of one kind act.
Yeah, but then it also leans into some of, like, the stereotypes and jokes of having Chinese on Hanukkah or Chinese on Christmas because
it's the only thing open.
Yeah, and the joke that, well, I don't think that ever really goes into it, but kind of is along those lines of, that's the reason a bunch of Jewish men are married to Asian women is because they meet over Christmas because the restaurant's open.
And, like, there's just... The other thing that's kind of, like, weird is this movie is both very silly and also very serious at the same time, and I don't think it really works.
Yeah, because the whole opening thing of him being shit-faced and bailing on his bill, like, it feels very Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But its tone feels very heavy in comparison to what you would think. Because it almost sets it up like it's gonna... Well, no, that's exactly what it's doing. It's setting it up as a redemptive holiday story of, look how rock bottom this guy is. He's bailing on his scorpion bulls and was gonna drive home drunk. Instead, he snowboards a trash can lid that would make a Tony Hawk game look like Amateur Hour.
Fact. I think part of the reason why, because, like, on paper, the, like, useless bum turns his life around because of the kind, heartless acts of this one man.
Tokyo Godfathers.
I mean, it works. Like, on paper, this works. The reason it doesn't work is because the humor that is either supposed to be there to relieve the audience of these very heavy tones, or to bring in the holiday, Christmas, or Hanukkah spirit to kind of, like, make the magic feel of a, like, holiday time movie. It does neither, because the characters who are supposed to be there to change his life are silly caricatures, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is there's so many of them. Like, Whitey himself and his sister Eleanor, what kind of, like, it feels like it's some fantasy world like Princess Bride where this character can only exist of, it's a little person with one large club foot, one little foot, and a very furry back. He feels almost like a dwarf.
He feels very silly, and granted, some of the other characters that are background characters in this movie... Three boob chick,
the very Jewish rabbi, the one guy who kind of looks like Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, like, there's other silly characters, right? So, like, in theory, everyone fits together in the world visually, but where it fails is, like, unlike other movies that have these over-the-top silly characters, there is either serious moments with them to make them more, like, humane and, like, bring through the plot, or everyone is silly all the time and we don't really care about the, like, advanced growth of the character. both things are happening simultaneously, and unfortunately, I think the biggest failure of this movie is Whitey himself.
Yeah, well, and I think part of it, too, is it is very unbalanced in the cartoony slapstick or cartoony violence of it, where sometimes it pushes the envelope, like when he pushes Sly or Whitey down the hill in the outhouse and he becomes a poopsicle, the deers lick it off disgustingly.
So gross, which apparently that scene was meant to be cut, and the test audience said it was fine, so they didn't.
But at other times, like, it's not enough. Like, it just doesn't... It's such an imbalance of the style of cartoon that it is.
And here's the other thing that I think why Whitey makes the movie not work. So, Adam Sandler, who... I know Adam Sandler's character has a name in this movie. I don't care. It's Adam Sandler.
It's Davey.
It's Adam Sandler. It's literally just Adam Sandler. So, that character has real problems, traumas, and consequences. Like, he is threatened to go to jail if he does not get his act together. And it's not a cute ha-ha-ha jail. It is real jail with real consequences, right? Whitey has problems in his own life, and they are supposed to parallel how, like, even though Whitey has all these problems, like, he still lives with his sister, he doesn't like it, he tries to do all this good for the community and it backfires, he has seizures, he has medical problems, like, he has all of this stuff. All of Whitey's problems are tee-hee funny with no consequence.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no room for actual, like, problems to exist.
Whitey's just the town beating stick where all their problems get shoved on him and no one recognizes him. But like you said, it's supposed to try and parallel Davey, but Davey is the problem for the town. He's the one that no one wants to associate with.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where the movie even becomes mostly a relatively generic rom-com between him and Jennifer, but it's a musical with Hanukkah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, like, there is no way to write Whitey so that he can't be funny and then at the end reveal, like, how much that hurt him. Because that's kind of what they tried to do. Yeah. Where, like, he was doing all this good because he wanted his community to recognize him, and, you know, he felt drawn to it, and he thought that finally people were going to notice him.
Well,
But, like, literally, like, yes, he gets recognized. Even in then, they then try to show, like, he still has problems with, like, his health and stuff, and that's not even taken seriously.
Well, I think part of what it is that they do try and explain it. I get where you're coming from with it.
Yeah.
And they do give a very poor explanation of trying to turn everything around. It's because Davey says, hey, you guys all did all this horrible stuff to him, but I was the worst of all, because what it's doing is it's taking the worst character in this community and showing that, hey, if our worst guy can recognize that you guys are all assholes to this one person, we need to change our lives around. And that's where it does it, but it does it in such a quick little bit because it's the heart of it's quickly overshadowed by the comedy because it goes quick, because after that bit it goes into bom bitty bitty botty bom bom,
which, don't get me wrong, is maybe the best part of the whole movie.
Yes.
But I think my main problem with it is all of the humor that happens to Whitey. At no point do we truly get a moment to have the feeling that Whitey regrets anything or is upset by anything or troubled by any of this, because he's the butt of every joke.
Yeah, and the only time we see Whitey feeling bad is when he needs to go to the mall to talk, but also when his hopes are dashed by getting whatever this stupid award is, some community award.
I don't care. I don't know. But yeah. Whereas with Davey's character, with Adam Sandler's character, we are constantly having to ride around with him and his sad mopiness, which is fine. He's the main character of a sad holiday special where he's meant to find love and joy again. But the characters around him are not either facilitating that with any meaning or, like, adding to the weight to it. So, like, there's no balance to him. Yeah,
and even then, Davey doesn't really find happiness. It's kind of hinted that they're going to end up together, and he's going to be a better stepfather than the bad influence he was as not being the stepfather.
Here's the thing that I don't understand, though. Okay, because the judge says, okay, you can go free. I'm not going to charge you if you do community service and stay out of trouble with Whitey, right? He gets arrested, so he's broken his, I don't know what it's called, parole or rules or whatever.
Not even parole. He doesn't even get parole. It's just like,
he's broken the rule the judge set.
Yeah.
See, he's going to jail for 10 years. Like, it's not even a question, like, unless the judge was in that room and he was like, wow, the spirit of Hanukkah has shifted my mind. Which, honestly, if that's how the judge is going, maybe someone needs to, like, write up to the board and have him talked to.
It's implied that he's gonna get his sentence or whatever exonerated because he's realized the error in his ways and cares about one person now.
See, I don't think that's how the judicial
Judicial?
Yes, thank you. My God, that word's hard for some reason. I don't think that's how the law works.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I'm not saying that that's not how the movie could have played. Like, I'm not saying that the movie couldn't have been like, it's a Hanukkah miracle, because it kind of leads into that a little bit. With the whole, like, truck breaking down and all that with, like, a single pin. No. But...
all 8 tires being fixed in 30 minutes as well.
Yeah, so, like... clearly we're trying occasionally to lean into the whole, like, spirit of faith and goodwill and all that sort of crap, but, like, then we don't continue to lean into it when, like, our characters are actually impacted by anything, like, really?
No, it means absolutely nothing in the end, just because there's... that is the issue, is it's so... It's like... how we talked about in Santa Claus 2, mm-hmm. where the movie is so divided that it doesn't have the one main plot line,
mm-hmm.
and then a couple little things here and there. It just goes back and forth between Davey used to be good, oh, now he's in love with this girl again. Okay, now we got Whitey and his problems.
And granted, I do like the story arc of Davey, finally grieving over his parents.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a great storyline, and I do think they did that well.
Yes.
I just don't think literally any of the other characters help the story along.
No, not at all. I mean, the only person who helped the story along was Whitey.
Yes, and even then, Whitey could have been such a better character
mm-hmm.
if he was given room to be serious at other points in the movie
except
at the end.
Instead of being some silly little rendition of a Disney princess.
And I have a theory about Whitey.
Okay.
I watched the commentary on this film.
Good for you. I did not.
Don't watch it.
Wasn't planning to.
In case those of you missed it at the beginning, Whitey is portrayed by Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
So, the commentary is with Whitey, a fake character. So, it is abundantly clear through the commentary that Whitey is almost a stand-up gig that then got animated.
Great.
Which is why he doesn't work. If we had had more time, and honestly, I know people love Adam Sandler. If Adam Sandler had had less fingers in the writing pot, I think Whitey could have been a very good, still very funny
mm-hmm.
character. There's just clearly too much Adam Sandler stand-up happening through Whitey.
He's just another bit character like everyone else in it, whereas Davey is supposed to be like the one relatively normal person next to Jennifer and the kid's name.
Yes, 100%. And I think that is the main downfall, is unfortunately, at this point in Adam Sandler's career, Adam Sandler for this movie was his biggest enemy.
Where was he at? I'm kind of curious because I didn't do any digging onto like where this lined up in everything he's done. Okay, this is after Mr. Deeds, Punch Drunk Love, which I still need to see because I've heard it's really good.
It is.
Promise I'll get to that. So yeah, it's still in
Little Nicky, which honestly this movie does have a lot of the same feelings from Little Nicky. You can see a lot of the same comedy humor.
The Animal, Hot Chicks, It's Before Anger Management. Okay, yeah, after Big Daddy, The Waterboy, all of his classics.
Wedding Singer, yeah, like, and you can see it. Like, this is old Adam Sandler humor, not a bad thing.
Just before transitioning to, like, the more serious roles.
Yeah, and then he started getting into not just serious roles, but, like, roles for the whole family, because his life was changing at that point, right? So, does it make sense? 100% it makes sense. But where his other comedies succeeded was he had other human actors who balanced out his, like, honestly, stand-up roles. And this movie is 99% Adam Sandler. Writing, directing, producing, starring Adam Sandler.
Yeah, that I can see where that makes it much more of a mess, because I really don't know anything that he's like written or directed. I'm sure I have seen stuff he's written, but
you definitely have seen stuff that he's written, but like I said, his later stuff that he gets into, I think is much better developed because his earlier stuff is a lot of the crude and silly humor.
Yeah.
And, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. I love a lot of that silly, crude humor. There's a lot of movies from that time period that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, they work because he usually has other human actors who he can play off of and who can react to him in real time. It just didn't quite work in an animated movie where he was 99% of the movie.
Yeah. You know what's actually, in my opinion, aged worse than the rest of the movie?
Oh, what?
The mall scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because almost every one of the stores they mention is out of business now, or has become less of a cultural icon.
Yeah. Okay, so I moved from a location that had, as a youth, I had a thriving mall. It was like a big mall in our area. Like, people recognized it. It's now gone, but it was so popular and so recognizable that the, like, main feature of the mall is still the symbol for the now, like, development that's been built in its place. So I've watched the decline of a mall, and then I moved to a place that only had outdoor malls. And I thought, oh, well, this works. This seems fine. I didn't realize that what was working was the very wealthy inhabitants who had money to spend at Williams-Sonoma and Pink and the jewelry shop.
Radio Shack.
I don't think they are in the mall here.
No, Radio Shack's out of business altogether.
Yeah, they are 100%. They're gone.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Battery Place, which is the only thing I used them for, was to buy batteries. And now I live in a location that has a mall. It has stores in it, but it is not thriving. Like, half the mall is dead, but, like, not enough to close that part of the mall, because one store in the wing is open, sort of dead. Yeah,
because vintage stock is probably the main thing keeping that thing alive to begin with.
Vintage stock, there's a Joann's who could stand by themselves.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a couple of restaurants that, like, have enough, like, chain backing to keep them open, and so, like, the high schoolers can, like, peruse the snacks.
Yeah, give something for them to go to.
And, like, it is now Christmas time, so there's more pop-up stores than normal, right? There's more, like, toys and, like, calendar stores that, like, they're gonna close next month, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But it is very strange to watch a movie so heavily based around the idea that the entire community gathers at the mall when they grieve.
No, they don't grieve. It's just because Whitey, the church, his church is the mall. But also, like, Davy's character ends up at the mall to process his feelings way more. And, like, granted, the first mall that I grew up at, I could understand that. Because I did spend a lot of time there, right? Like, my friends and I would go, if, like, I was having a bad day, I could go get a pretzel and, like, sit and watch the, like, entertainment, because we had, like, an entertainment section. There was, like, a meditative corner with balloons that went up and down. Like, it was a big mall. It was a big mall. See, the only thing I remember from the Fifth Avenue Mall in Anchorage is, one, there was a really good noodle soup shop at the top.
I do love noodles.
I remember the Big Dog clothing store.
Oh God, I had a whole bunch of those. Yeah.
And the Hello Kitty store.
Oh, yeah.
Those are, like, the only three things I remember from that. Well, and there's a really cool Santa there, so.
I feel you. The only stores I actually remember at the mall, because I didn't shop,
yeah.
I was just there for snacks, let's be very clear, is I remember there was, like, a nail salon store that I never went into. You wouldn't have caught me dead in there as a child. And then also there was a very definitely needed to be condemned pizza place that everyone in high school we ate at regularly, and I'm surprised we're not all dead. But, like, this mall both is shown very lively, but, like, most of the time people are breaking into the mall, and that concept to me is someone who now lives in a dead mall society where the mall doesn't lock anymore.
Yeah.
Because why would you lock it? There's nothing to steal.
It feels a little like its purpose is supposed to be like the church in Home Alone, where it's there
where it's,
when
like,
he actually,
always open.
Yeah, or there when the character needs it conveniently.
Yeah, because, like, now looking at them having to break into the mall to, like, walk around a dead closed mall, I'm like, oh, you can just do that. The door's open.
The door just happened to be open for them, remember?
Oh, yes. That's
Davy's the one who broke in, and that's probably why the door's open.
That's honestly probably why the door's open. But, like, yeah, no, the mall culture of this movie was a little, like, reminiscent. I did enjoy it. Maybe it was a little on the nose, like, actually naming places.
I mean, I'm sure they got some funding to be able to do that.
Probably, granted by who worked on this. But I do... Okay, so I'm a fan of, like, naming things like Whack-Donald's, where it's, like, you know what it's meant to be, but, like, in 20 years, if for some reason the end of the world happens and McDonald's no longer exists, it doesn't matter. You know it's a burger and french fry place.
Yeah.
That's my favorite of, like, tie-in.
But we also watch a lot of anime.
We do. And
this is 2002. Like,
and they did not think the mall was going to die.
No.
In 2002, we did not think this was going to happen to us. We thought this was not a problem.
Nope.
And how foolish we were. Now look at us with our crisis of malls.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that in architecture school.
Me too. Did yours want to turn them into housing? Because mine did.
Housing and mixed use, kind of similar to what we talked about with, like, Olympic stadiums and villages.
Yeah, ours wanted to do that too. And now looking at, like, them actually being built, I'm like, wow, this is a terrible idea. No one can afford to live above the mall.
No.
So.
So, Chris, rent by streamer declined that we ever watched 8 Crazy Nights despite having an audio recording of us watching it.
I enjoyed this one. It was fun. I enjoyed rewatching it. It's been ages since I'd seen it. I'd probably rent it. I don't know if I feel the need to watch it on DVD, especially now that I have perused the extras, because it does come with a 2-set.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're getting a good deal. I, for you, dear listener, have looked at all of the bonus things that came with it, and I can tell you full-heartedly there's only one thing on that DVD worth your time and money, and that is the extended, full, released version of the song Bitty Bitty. However, you can get that song on any streaming platform of your choosing. It's not, like, locked behind closed doors. It's just the extended cut version. It's on YouTube for free. It's also, like, I listened to it on YouTube Music on the way down. I'm sure it's also on Spotify. Mm-hmm. That's literally the only good part. The interviews were really garbage and hard to get through because it's just Whitey talking to himself.
That kind of pisses me off a little bit.
The deleted scenes are not actually deleted scenes. They're just, like, fake takeouts. Like, there's a couple of, like...
Oh, is it like when they used to do, like, the animated characters goofed? Fuck.
Yeah, granted, there's not a lot of them. I think there's, like, 2. So, like...
Still,
it's not worth the extra money to buy the DVD unless you, for some reason, have, like, a deep emotional attachment to this movie and you plan to watch it 8 nights in a row. Yeah. Otherwise, just rent it once, remember that you've seen it, show it to someone who hasn't, and don't explain anything to them about it. Just have them watch it raw and then, like, giggle in their confusion.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with stream. I don't even think, like, renting it is worth it. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've seen, but it definitely isn't great. I'm sure there's much, much better Hanukkah movies out there. Hell, go out there.
There has to be.
Go out there, audience. Find them and tell us which ones we should watch.
In fact, I promise to make it my personal goal to find a good Hanukkah movie by next Hanukkah season. I will find it, and I will watch it, and I will tell you about it myself. But this is not it. I'm sorry that this is the most known Hanukkah movie, because A, this isn't really a family-friendly movie. It's got too many raunchy names. There's a lot of middle finger. There's
triple tits.
There's triple tits who swing pendulum style. There's poop-licking deer.
I mean, I can't say much. One of our favorite childhood movies has a uniboob.
My favorite play as a child had three boobs, I believe. I think it was a Tom Sawyer play that my grandparents took me to. It's cultured. Thank you. So, like, granted, I'm not saying that this isn't for some children. I was some children. I watched this and I didn't see anything wrong with it. I also watched Little Ricky at about the same age and also didn't see any reason why I shouldn't have. As an adult, I now see that maybe it's not for everyone. High school kids, no problem. Middle school, at your own discretion, depending on how sensitive you and your household is. So I'm so sorry that this is the Hanukkah movie that, like, the world knows, because this isn't really a good example, I don't think. It's not even very Hanukkah-based.
Yeah.
It's, like, lightly Hanukkah-themed, much like, the end caps of Walmart.
Yeah, where it's
Christmas everywhere, except for one end cap that's lightly blue.
It's commercial Santa-shaped stuff.
God, it really is. I'm so sorry. We will try and find a decent one for next year to review, but this was the one that we were like, Hanukkah movie. I at least know it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry this is how we end 2024.
Me too, because honestly, this movie sucked.
Yeah, I hope everyone's having a great holiday spirit, and if you are Davey, do what you want. We're a movie review podcast, not life coaches.
And maybe you should watch this movie. You'll learn a lot about what not to do in life.
Or you'll see it and be like, hell yeah, he's my idol.
You know what? I watched Talladega Nights recently, and someone said that exact phrase, so, you know.
Is that your husband?
No, actually, it's my friend's boyfriend.
Oh,
so, you know, you do you. I will say this, while the music in this movie is not overly the best, it's not bad. So if you feel like rewatching it solely for the tunes, that I think would be worth it.
Or just pull up Bum Biddy Biddy Bum.
Honestly, there's only 8 songs in this whole movie, and if you're gonna buy the CD for it, you don't get any bonus songs. You just get the end one again.
Less tracks than Pokemon the first movie.
Oh, by a lot. By a lot. Yeah, no, less tracks than most Barbie movies. So, just feel that with your soul. Do with that what you will.
You still have yet to make me watch one of those. So.
Next year, don't worry. I've got it figured out. I know where I'm going to insert it.
All right. But we'll see you next year with our annual animated start to the year with something a little sexier and just as dumb as this one, in my opinion.
No, 100%.
But, anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the good, the bad, and the weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace.